Welcome to the Viking Age podcast, the official podcast of thevikingage.com. My name is Chris Schad. I write for the Viking Age, Puckett's Pond, and Zone coverage. That's right, if you picked up on it. I am now the site expert at Puckett's Pond. So if you're a Minnesota Twins fan, go ahead and check that out. Even if the Twins are right-sizing their business, we do not right-size our opinions, our news, all that stuff. You're going to want to check it out. But outside of the cheap plugs, it's the Viking Age podcast. We do this every Monday with a late week episode right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. We're also in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. So however you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode and we can spread the word to the masses. Today's episode, if you're a friend of the show or just checking in, my guest is Nick Marty. We're going to talk about if things are getting serious with the team this season. We're going to preview Monday's game against the Chicago Bears. But first, the Vikings are 11-2, so it's only natural to talk about what they're going to do in 2025, apparently. Sam Darnold, bowing out. You might have heard he's good now, and now all the national analysts are finding out oh my God, he's good after trashing him for the first 6 weeks of the season. The latest example came from Rick Spielman, former Vikings general manager, who suggested that Darnold stay in Minnesota on the Baker Mayfield deal, which is 3 years, $100 million. It's a hot topic. You got people talking, you got Vikings fans talking about it. You got national analysts talking about it. Alex Smith has PTSD saying the Vikings need to keep Sam Darnold. Should the Vikings bring him back in 2025? Let's start there.
Well, I mean, it's funny, right? I'm going to start by quoting our fearless coach, KOC. He said this week, right? All these wins, they all mean the same, but they don't all feel the same. And it's amazing how 1 5-touchdown performance and a destruction in that fourth quarter of Kirk and the Atlanta Falcons have changed the narrative of this team. I don't know. It is so funny to me to watch the national. I don't feel like it's as much local, but the national swing in these big swings. And now all of a sudden we're a threat. Up until this point, right, we haven't been, but I guess now we are. And so should they bring back Sam Darnold? I'm going to be boring. I'm in the camp of, hey, let's let this thing play out, right? The story is not finished, to quote Cody Rhodes, right? We are still experiencing the story. I think there are options to just see, instead of 1 5-touchdown games, let's see how the next 8 games before we have to make these general big, proclamations of, do we keep him? Do we bring him back? Do we cut him and go with JJ McCarthy, right? We have some time. Let it play out, everybody. We've got some other factors as well. Is the knee for JJ healthy? I think there's a lot of questions we need to answer before we can definitively answer that one.
I said this on Monday. This was the most satisfying Vikings win since the 2019 playoff win. Some people might think I'm insane for that, but Phil Mackey had a good point when he said on Purple Daily, this felt like WrestleMania, right? You mentioned Roman Reigns, the bad guy, the villain, the guy that has been holding, the belt hostage for 4 years, and Cody Rhodes comes in and he wins the belt, and that's the end of WrestleMania. They got Cody on the shoulders and the pyro, and he finished the story, everything else. That's what beating Kirk Cousins felt like on Sunday. It was a culmination of years of frustration. And like I said, it wasn't about Kirk Cousins. It was about what Kirk Cousins represented. Years of spinning your wheels, 9-win, 8-win seasons, maybe even 7-win seasons mixed in there. Never a real contender, maybe outside of that 2022 team, but that was flawed. I think it has people, some people see that and they see the transition to Sam Darnold and they go, oh, you can take a risk at quarterback and have a Super Bowl quality season. This is exciting. What can JJ McCarthy do when they get him in there? You also have people who may have been the same people who cheered Kirk Cousins in the past and booed him on Sunday. They're looking at it going well, what are you going to do with Sam Darnold? And to their credit, Sam Darnold is 27 years old. He's having a great season, and he looks like the guy that was the 3rd overall pick in the draft. There's a bigger pedigree, so to speak, when it comes to talking about Sam Darnold. But you also know what Sam Darnold was before this season. A month ago, those same people were saying he should be benched after throwing a bunch of picks in Jacksonville. You know, is there a chance, you say finish the story, is there a chance that you change your mind about Sam Darnold if he gets the NFC Championship, if he wins the Super Bowl? Like, what changes because you're saying don't keep him, correct? Or are you saying keep him or don't?
I'm saying let's see how this thing plays out, right?
Okay.
Like I think this playoff run, and to me, it's not even about winning and losing. It's how does Sam handle the big pressure moments, right? Because their plan all along was to get cheap at the quarterback to be able to spend in other places. But obviously, plans can change. And if Sam balls out, even in a loss, if Sam shows that he's ready for the moment, and you can get this guy who does have the pedigree, does have the arm talent, does have, he's young enough to still build off of, right? And he goes into the playoffs and wins a couple of games. And even if he loses an NFC championship game, but he doesn't throw 3 picks and he's not the reason you lose it. I'm very open to the idea of bringing him back. But I can't say after one Atlanta Falcons win, one way or the other, how I feel, because I think there's so many other factors that go in right now. And I am open to the idea of that. The money does scare me a lot, right? Like if that is a big factor to how much I feel like I want to bring him back or not, right? Are we going to be paying him in that 40 to 50 million dollar range, right? That negates what I think their long-term plan has been. And so I'm in the camp of just let's see how this thing plays out. Let's see how we feel come NFC Championship. I mean, if the guy wins the Super Bowl, hang the banner, build the statue. He can have one of my kids. I could care less about any season moving forward. If he brings me a Super Bowl, he literally can have anything that I own. And you can pay him 95% of the salary cap, and I will be happy for multiple years.
Purple Hef. I think it's purple. He's got a V where the U is supposed to be, but he says too much money to sign him. He means TOO, but that's great. He is right. Like, I think the Vikings have to take an approach that they did with Kirk Cousins. Like, would they like to have Sam Darnold back? Sure. I think so, especially if he's going to play like this. If they're not sure about JJ McCarthy's knee, maybe at the last minute they go up to him and they say, hey, this is our offer. Baker Mayfield deal, 3-100. Take it. And I mean, Sam knows what this whole deal is. Like Sam knew before he signed. They went to him. They said, hey, you can come here. You can rehab your value, but JJ McCarthy's the future, and that's what we want to do. Like they know. Spot tracking over the cap currently have Sam Darnold at a $34 million projection for next season. And I mean, I think if he's asking, I mean, he should. I said this on Monday. He could get a bigger contract than Kirk Cousins got last offseason. Like 4 years, 180 for a 36 year. Like if I'm his agent, I'm bringing that right to the table and be like, look at what this guy got. He was injured. He was old and he still nearly got $200 million. You want me? Pay up. And if that's the cost, I'm saying no, I'm balking. And here's the thing too, the Vikings, if we hear they didn't even approach Sam Darnold for a contract, it gives me even more faith in JJ McCarthy because it tells me they love him so much that they think he could be the starter next year. I know you said you want to have this play out, but let's say 2025 does come along. JJ McCarthy is the starter. Do you have confidence in him? Because Rick Spielman was saying he hasn't done anything yet. And I don't know. He almost beat Sam Darnold for the job. He was on, if he stays healthy the preseason, that was going to be a conversation. Like, when does this kid start? So what has changed?
Yeah. To me, here's why I have confidence. I have confidence in whatever Kevin O'Connell has confidence in, because he's shown what no one else could do and has turned Sam Darnold into a $34 million quarterback. And so if KOC comes and they're say, hey, thank you, Sam, go get your payday. thank you for this magical year, but we're going with JJ, then I have 100% confident in JJ. If that's the way that KOC wants to go and they don't even approach Sam, then yeah. And I feel like after what I've seen this year, even with the mess that was last year with I mean, he got the most out of everyone that has played. And so I'm going to trust that and trust what my eyes have seen, that if they believe JJ, then who am I to think otherwise? And if you can get JJ to play at this level or close to it, plus have all that money in free agency, that's a fun place to be in that the Vikings haven't been in a long time.
You know what's funny to me is who is talking about this. We're talking Rick Spielman. Rick Spielman, the guy who could not find his own quarterback in the draft, who overpaid Kirk Cousins multiple times. I think it was 2 of the 3 extensions that he signed. And he's like, no, he hasn't. JJ McCarthy, we don't know. Let's get Kirk. The guy has been scarred for life because he has whiffed on the quarterback position so much. And he also brought up like 2 examples of JJ McCarthy sitting behind guys. Did you hear that Patrick Mahomes once sat behind Alex Smith? Little known football fact. But it's true. Next thing you know, did you know Adam Thielen is from Minnesota, Nick?
Really?
Yes.
I can't believe like we haven't heard more about that, because that's a pretty cool story.
You'd think somebody would have hopped on that and wrote a story or 2 about it, or maybe there'll be a Disney movie someday. I don't know. Like, the process helps when you have Jesus Christ at quarterback, though, or as some people want to call him, a different entity, because the Chiefs keep winning games in like superhuman ways, but I'm not going to go down that avenue. Mahomes also debuted in the 2nd year of his career, which means the Chiefs had 4 years of rookie quarterback window to work with and build a team. They went to the Super Bowl in 2019 and 2020 with him on a rookie contract. So that matters. Then you talk about the Packers. That was the other team he brought up. You know, they had Aaron Rodgers sit behind Brett Favre, and then Jordan Love sat behind Aaron Rodgers, and now he's a super quarterback. I would argue about Jordan Love being elite, first of all. And then I would say that by the time Jordan Love debuted, they had 1 year to find out if he was legit. And they didn't even trust him. They gave him this like bridge. They didn't even exercise his option. It was like a bridge deal with an option. Like, it made no sense. I guess in a way it did. It was kind of their way to avoid giving a Daniel Jones deal. But I mean, they gave him that deal. Jordan Love balled out for half a season. Luckily, it was like the second half, because if he does it in the other way and he sucks like at the end of the year instead of the beginning of the year, then the Packers are like, well, you're probably not that good. You just started the year well. But he finished the year like a flamethrower. So he gets paid $55 million a year. And I know what you're saying. Packer fans, they're going to log on to this. This is probably going to be short. And they're going to be like, Chris, the Packers are a good team. Let's talk about the Packers, shall we? Jordan Love is basically playing like Sam Darnold right now for $45 million more than the Vikings are paying Sam Darnold. His top weapons, Josh Jacobs, okay, worth it. Let's talk about that at the end of the contract. Christian Watson, who drops everything but still has more upside than Justin Jefferson. Romeo Doubs, sometimes I can't tell if he's on the field or not. Jaden Reed and Tucker Kraft on rookie deals. I love Tucker Kraft. That guy's just awesome. So I'll give him that. And then you have a pretty good defense with a lot of young talent, but you can't pay everyone. So basically, you're going down the Rick Spielman road where you have to bat 1,000, and you wind up getting guys like, I don't know, Garrett Bradbury and Kenny Willekes and Kellen Mond. Like all Wyatt Davis. Like, do you want me to keep going down that road? Because he kept trading back, and all he got was lemons in the draft. So, like you said, let the story play out. Trust the process. Because if Kevin O'Connell nicked a lot of guys before taking McCarthy, he probably likes JJ McCarthy a lot. And even if he's not ready, can you start Daniel Jones for a couple of games? And if JJ McCarthy sucks, you just draft another one, because you'll have an absolutely loaded roster. And you could trade up. You can make I know it didn't work out for the 49ers, but Trey Lance deal all your draft picks, get a super stud quarterback prospect and roll that out. So, I mean, a lot of people are overblowing this and like, oh my God, you have to pay Sam Darnold or else the franchise will crumble. we've been down this avenue before, guys. It'll be okay.
I mean, wasn't the franchise supposed to crumble when we didn't bring back Kirk? I feel like we have the ability to roll, and I don't know. A part of me is being a little bullish, but it's like you saw what we did with Sam Darnold. If we need Daniel Jones for 4 games, like what if we unlock a first round talent with Daniel? I mean, I do not think we're gonna get to the Sam Darnold level, but like I'm okay with if JJ's knee isn't quite ready or you need a tiny little bridge, like I'm not scared of that fact. And every situation's a little different, right? Like we don't. I love Sam Darnold, but he's not Aaron Rodgers. You're not gonna sit someone behind him for years and years. As much as I'm not disappointed in what's happening to A-Rod this year. When Love was there, he was still at a very elite level, and to me, it's apples and oranges when you look at who you're trying to sit someone behind. And so just let's see what happens. And a lot of it's probably going to come down to Sam himself, right? Like if Sam gives us a friendly, shorter term deal, then I think you got to think about it. I don't think that's going to happen. I hope he doesn't do that. I hope the guy goes and takes this year and gets paid, but I do not want to match a long-term expensive deal for Sam Darnold with JJ waiting. And if that happens, it's kind of like Kirk, which it felt good this year to be like, hey, we love you, Kirk, but like we just can't match what the Falcons did. We sleep okay at night because it's like, hey, like we just can't do that. And everyone rode off, and now we've having a fun season. So pause, let it play out.
Shout out to my guy Norcephus in the comments. He's saying Spielman doesn't know jack about quarterbacks. Couldn't find one this whole time. It's exactly what I was saying, man. He's on my side. Well, if the Vikings may not pay Sam Darnold, but Sam Darnold could get you paid because Underdog is the place to play if you are a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports this season. Sorry, I'm getting the little thing up here. I'm distracted. With over 5 million happy players and $2 billion won, Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all of your favorite athletes' performances. Complete against other players by selecting higher or lower on 2 or more players' stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money. Turn every touchdown into a win with Underdog. Underdog is the best place to cash in on all of your takes this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones are ice cold? Make your entries in just a few taps to turn your sports opinions into real money. Underdog also has vulture protection. If you select a designated running back to score a touchdown in your pick'em entry and they get vultured, we will rescue your entry. And Underdog has a game known as Red Zone Rush, a game you won't find anywhere else. Just pick whether or not a player will score a touchdown by swiping right for yes or left for no. It's as simple as that. Plus, your entry will be automatically boosted and you'll get a 51% profit boost. I have been an Underdog player for a long time. I have used it every island game I play it. Got some parlays going tonight, a little touchdown parlay, not going so well because the Niners and Rams are doing absolutely nothing on the field. But maybe you like the Vikings on Monday, and maybe you want to go higher on Justin Jefferson yards or higher on TJ Hawkinson receptions, or maybe you think Sam Darnold's going to throw 2 touchdowns. You want to go higher on that. You can do all of those things. You can win some cash in the process as well. Download the app today. Use the code The Age. It's all one word. You get up to $1,000 in bonus cash match instantly. Again, download the app today. Use the code The Age to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash match. Select higher or lower on your favorite players and cash in on Underdog. You must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply, void in Colorado. If you are concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, text 1-800-NEXT-STEP. That's 1-800-639-8783 or text NEXT STEP to 53342. And in New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. Okay. So the real reason I had you on today, Nick, is like sometimes there's some episodes where I just got to talk like a fan to somebody, like 2 fans going back and forth. Like we got a couple of beers in front of us and just talk about this team, because I was thinking about this. I know you're a gamer. Did you play Sonic growing up? Were you a big Sonic guy?
A little bit, but I know the Sonic characters. I have a third grade daughter who has loved the Sonic movies and is very excited for Sonic 3 coming out. So I have been versed through her in the Sonic universe. So yes, I'm able to speak on the character.
Like, I played Sonic when I was a kid. Sega Genesis was my first video game system, dating myself for everybody out there. And Sonic 3, you know, the Chaos Emeralds, right? You got to collect all the emeralds. I could never do it, but that's how you officially beat the game. Because like, if you just go through everything on a speed run, you know, Dr. Robotnik laughs at you at the end. In Sonic and Knuckles, at the very beginning, Sonic stumbles upon like this like cave or whatever. It has like the hyper emeralds or whatever they're called. And they're like these big emeralds, and you got to collect them. And if you get them all, you have Hyper Sonic. Well, I don't think we'll see like the Hyper Vikings or anything here. But when I think about great seasons like this, I think kind of like that cave. You stumble in and you just have like these seasons sitting there. Like maybe you got a Randy Moss jersey in one area, you got a Case Keenum jersey, or like a Diggs jersey in the other for 2017. My greatest seasons are as followed. You have 1998, because they went 15-1. We all know how it. I mean, there are no happy endings in Vikings history, so you can't use that card with me. 1998, 2009, and 2017. Is the 2024 season ready to join that group?
I think they have the ability to. Now, I will say that I think all three of those teams are better than this one, but I think this team has just as good a shot because of the landscape of the NFL. There are just some years where you just kind of have this feeling and things kind of fall your way. Now, are there a lot of good teams? Yes, there's a lot of good teams, but I look at them and I go, hey, Lions pretty banged up on defense, and they're the Lions, right? I go, all right, you got the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, Saquon running all over the place, but passing game, not super effective lately. Like, are they going to be tough to get through? Yeah, Philadelphia is a house of horrors, but like, are they beatable? Sure. Packers? We can beat the Packers, right? I think we're in the mix in everything. You look across to the AFC, right? It's like you got the Chiefs look beatable. They don't look like the Chiefs that we've seen the last few years that have looked like this dominant team. The Bills feel a lot like the Vikings. Like, they always find a way to mess it up. So am I going to predict a Super Bowl win? No. But do I think it is extremely possible for our team, this team, to be in the mix to get there? Would I be surprised? No. I think they have the talent. I think they have the path. I think it feels like a season where they could definitely vault themselves into the conversation with 98, 09, and 17.
You know what it feels like to me is like last year's Timberwolves team, right? Or even you could even go with this year's Wild team, because they're playing really well right now. They have the best record. I think they're tied for the most points in the NHL, and they're playing right now. But like I look at this team and I say, yeah, I mean, it's probably not going to end well. I mean, what Minnesota sport does. But then I look at the rest of the thing. I'm like, we could beat the Packers. We already did. We went up 28-0 in their house until they had a late comeback. Could we beat the Lions? Sure. I went to that game, and I don't know, maybe Blake Cashman plays, maybe, Sam Darnold had a couple of short circuit moments in that game. He missed Aaron Jones for a wide open touchdown. But I mean, Will Reichard, if they don't have that sack at the end, is he attempting a 70-yard field goal for the win? I mean, that's possible. And then you also have the Eagles, who, I don't know, they are like highly combustible, and it's either in a good way or a bad. Like, when you mix two things together in chemistry class and it either has something cool or you light the entire school on fire. That's basically the Eagles. It's just Nick Sirianni, you just dumping shit in and being like, I don't know if this works. Let's see what happens. And also too, you look at the Lions and like Dan Campbell, he's playing Russian roulette. He's got the chamber and he's like, and eventually he's not going to win. So I don't know. I mean, it's a method of roll the ball out there and see what happens, because I don't think the Vikings are a truly dominant team, even though they did look dominant towards the end of that game on Sunday. Um, but I think they're a very good team. And sometimes that's all you need, especially in the NFC, where you don't got to go through Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. You don't have to go through Lamar Jackson. You don't have to go through Josh Allen in Buffalo. Like, the AFC is going to be a dogfight. The NFC, it's going to be a dogfight, but I mean, it's going to be more of a, I think it's going to be a more balanced attack in the NFC. And I don't know. Is this a year maybe where you do see the Vikings get the 5 seed and they go to the Super Bowl? Is this a year where maybe like the 3rd seed or something? Like, I don't think if Detroit gets the 1, they got a clear path to the Super Bowl. They get to play at home, but they have some flaws. You can say that about every team right now. And I think it's balanced enough where the Vikings play their game. If they don't make mistakes, and most importantly, they don't turn the ball over, they can get to the Super Bowl. Can they win it? Can they finish the story? I don't know, but they can get there.
And they have a lot of things, to win the Super Bowl, you have to be elite, right? Like, you can't back into that. You have to be elite. So you have to expect the play to be elite, but they have an extremely smart coaching staff, right? Like, I feel like even versus, that 17 team or the 09 team, right? Like, this coaching staff seemed more well prepared than a Zimmer team sometimes did. They seem more well prepared than Brad Childress and his kick-ass offense, right? Like, and so I love that. The defense gives up yards, but they also have a knack for coming up with big plays in really big moments. They don't seem phased by anything, even when the offense is turning the ball over. And you get this feeling that they just have a little bit of the horseshoe this year, and which you kind of need as well. And I just feel like they have some ingredients that sometimes lead to a deep run. But being a Vikings fan, I could also see them. Like, here's my worst case scenario, though. So you talked about Kirk Cousins, WrestleMania, everything. I saw this as like, what's the pay-per-view before WrestleMania, right? Where someone wins the title, and then the rematch happens at WrestleMania, and Triple H takes his title back, right?
Yeah.
Like the pessimistic Viking fan in me is going, we beat Kirk at home, and now the Falcons are going to sneak in. We're going to go there in the first round, and Kirk is going to like light us up, and we're going to all be going, why didn't we keep Kirk? But that's just like the negativity in me right there. So I'm nervous. I do not agree with your WrestleMania take, because we still could have a WrestleMania coming up.
It's Phil Mackey's take. I'm not going to take credit for it, because I loved it. So I want to make sure he gets credit. But 50-50 booking, right? Like, you see the champ got pinned. Maybe he's got a chance. Nope. Yep. He gets squashed in like 5 minutes,
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I do fear the Falcons for that reason.
Yep.
That Kirk could show up in the playoffs at home, have the "you like that game" Atlanta style, and he's just screaming "you like that." Like, imagine this. I've said it before. Vikings Falcons playoffs. Kirk Cousins lines up. It's 4th and 8, and like Vikings fans are going, "We got him right where we want him." And he just throws a freaking dagger downfield, like just a bomb, game-winning field goal by Young Wei
Yep.
Cool. And like, you like that? And he's swag surfing, and
or more perfect, he throws a check down and we miss a tackle. And the check down receiver gets a big 4th down. Now that would be more Kirk Cousins epic. Throws it 6 yards before the sticks, and we can't wrap up.
Miss 3 tackles or something.
It's a sickness to be a Vikings fan. There's been so much trauma and pain that I always think the worst. Always.
Kevin O'Connell is going to remake the Cody Rhodes photo from WrestleMania 39, but instead of Roman Reigns in the background, it's just Kirk with a chain and like it's just both arms in the air. Just I know, man. We're a tortured soul. We always expect the worst to happen, and I don't know. It could happen, but why not dream for a bit? I mean, until it actually happens, enjoy the ride. Some Wild fans might be like, are you listening to yourself right now? Come on, enjoy this. We're the best team in hockey, Chris. Come on. Vikings and Bears. Monday night, winter whiteout at US Bank Stadium. Vikings currently favored by a touchdown. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Lisa Salters, and Laura Rutledge are going to be on the call. Is there any way the Vikings lose this game? Because the Bears had 2 yards in the first half last week. Their defense got whooped by the 49ers, and a lot of the guys just want to go home. So I feel like, I don't know, normally it's a 1-score game, but I mean, these guys look totally checked out. Oh, I think maybe I did this. Live YouTube here let me make sure here. I feel like maybe I hit something. Okay, that's mute. Nick's navigating through technical difficulties. Hopefully you can hear me. Well, Nick figures that one out. I'm going to figure this one out. This is great audio here. So I'm on echo. Can you hear me? Okay. So he's got his thing going. I'm going to give my take on the Chicago game until Nick figures his stuff out here. Like I said, I mean, this team just looks checked out. I mean, Matt Eberflus, I think he's a good, like, if somebody wants to hire him as a defensive coordinator, I don't think it's a terrible hire, but he's not a guy that led men. And the Bears also mentioned that, which is kind of hilarious. But looking at the Bears right now, I mean, you got Keenan Allen. It's like he wants to get a paycheck, all of those things. I think we're getting Nick back here as I hear him.
Can you hear me now?
Around his mic. I can hear you right now.
Sorry. I have no clue what happened there.
I was going full Mr. Smith goes to Washington there. Just a good old filibuster to try and fill the time.
I'm back.
Yes.
Amateur here. I guess. I don't know.
Amateur hour.
I did nothing. It just stopped working. So weird.
But we're back. Go ahead. I was just kind of rambling nonsense to fill time.
I think this game is to me, it feels loser proof. The Bears look checked out. They kind of got their little boost from the coach firing, which tends to happen. And then you often see that team kind of dip and come back to reality. It felt like it happened last week. It felt like the Niners crushed their soul. It's at home. Like if it was in Soldier Field, I'd be a little more nervous. But coming into US Bank, loud Monday night game, we're rolling. I don't see a way the Vikings lose this one. And moving into a pretty tough 3-game stretch to finish the season, this feels like a layup. And so I'm hoping that they just come with any bit of focus and we're going to be just fine.
Yeah. I'm nervous. I don't know. This is the Vikings stress thing again. This is the PTSD. Last year, we're looking at the Bears. We're like, oh, we got this. And then it was the worst offensive performance of the year. Josh Dobbs looks like garbage. Or was that was Josh Dobbs because they had the bye, lost the Bears, went on bye. Then they had the Raiders game where Dobbs got benched. So I don't know. I also don't feel like Sam Darnold's going to turn into a pumpkin anytime soon. He just looks that good. So I don't know. As far as the prediction goes, 27-7 Vikings.
Yeah, I was thinking like 31-14 was kind of what I was feeling.
Is it weird? I want to predict a shutout.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just riding the high from last week, but I mean, I feel like I could see like the Bears going in there, not knowing what they're doing, and then just looking god awful, and Brian Flores just playing with this food for 3 hours.
I'd love to see it. I would take that. I think they're going to get something, but I don't think I don't think the Vikings will have to sweat this one out.
Some Garbo time TDs. Yeah, just a little DeAndre Swift, whatever in there. Yep. Like you forget he's on the Bears too. Like DeAndre Smith, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, just off into football obscurity. Okay, so we talked Vikings long enough. 35 minutes. Every time Nick Marty is on, we got to have our obligatory wrestling chatter. You took your family to their first wrestling show on Friday night in Minneapolis. How did it go?
I did. So my 8-year-old and I have gone a few times. She's a huge WWE fan. But we took the 6-year-old and bringing both daughters. The wife came with as well. We had an absolute blast. My 6-year-old thought it was fantastic. She got to chant the word sucks. And for any sort of, kindergarten, first grade level, that word is like a swear word. And so she looked right at my wife, like directly in the eyes as she was saying it. And Jenna was just laughing because it was like, yep, we told you that this is the one place you could. It was a decent show. No Roman, which really bummed all of us out. We were ready to acknowledge our tribal chief. And so that was disappointing, especially the show after Survivor Series, to not get Roman, not get any of the bloodline other than Solo. But we got, their favorite wrestlers are Bianca Belair. We got a great Bianca Belair match against Piper Niven, which was like low key an amazing match. And then we got multiple Cody Rhodes sightings plus a match. We got Tiffy Time, who's a favorite in our household. And then we got a couple of really cool dark matches. We got to see Dom. We got to see Gunther. We got to see Braun Breaker. So we got to see some off air as well. And it was just kind of, anytime you go to wrestling live, it's a blast. So it was fun.
You mentioned Tiffany Stratton,
yeah,
a Minnesotan, and apparently a Vikings fan, which is exciting. I was trying to think of like the last Vikings fan wrestler who was like Curtis Axel was a fan, but like it's kind of like
it's Curtis Axel.
It's Curtis Axel, right? No offense to the guy. I mean, he's probably great and all, but I mean, compared to somebody who's like a champion, like Tiffany Stratton is on the doorstep of becoming a champion in WWE. So she was there. Very funny story. I think I told you this, but my friend who I normally go to games with, he has seats. It's a little, I don't even know how to like describe it, but it's on the lower level of US Bank Stadium. And if you go there, there's a handicap section. And my friend has tickets there because his dad had a disability. So he uses those. But like behind it, there's this little like barrier. And then you have the standing area right behind him. And that when I go to games, I stand there and I watch games. Apparently, Tiffany was in that area because she took a photo with a fan. A fan had noticed her, and like she was really incognito, which was kind of impressive. Like normally, like you see a wrestler, you just know. But like she's posed with a fan, and my friend sends me the photo. I'm like, oh, cool. She was like right by you guys. He's like, I had no idea.
Yep.
So she's taking a photo right in front of his seats, and he's like, I had no idea Tiffany Stratton was right there. So that's pretty funny. I don't know. Like the show on Friday was a little disappointing. I mean, when you have 3 guys go down with an injury in the War Games match, that's kind of a buzzkill. But I mean, we're entering WrestleMania season. We're almost there. I gotta know, what is your hottest take as we start on the road to WrestleMania?
That's a great question. I have a friend, Adam, who I talk a lot of wrestling with. And I think the other day we were just talking about how deep this roster is, right? Like there have been years where if someone were to go down, they were kind of, SOL. But man, they got a lot of options that they could go with, right? They got a lot of things we haven't seen before. The Punk Rollins stuff is starting to heat up. You got The Rock hanging out there somewhere. You got Cody and Roman who need another clash at some point. It doesn't feel like this is the Mania to do it. You have Gunther and Priest, and like they have done such an amazing job of building this roster to being deep with guys that can main event and be up and down the card that feel meaningful, that I love being in a spot where I don't really know what they're going to go, where they're going to, they have multiple things, right? Like I could see, Rhodes versus Rock. I could see Rock versus Roman. It feels like Punk and Rollins, especially after the last week, like that seems like the collision course for those two people. But Drew coming back, like they have so many good, and that's the kind of wrestling I love, is that they plant, they're just planting all these seeds here, there, and then they pay them off later. Everything made. I mean, and I'm going to talk about Kevin Owens, who has been
on fire. I mean, I am loving this new Kevin Owens. He is hilarious and he's right in a lot of ways, and he's such a compelling bad guy. His thing on in Minneapolis was hilarious when he rolled up the window on like he is just playing. I mean, they have so many talented guys that it's going to be really fun just to see where all these pieces settle over the next, few months as we lead towards, our favorite time of the year. It's already this time again.
I don't know where they're going to go. And that's awesome. Like normally, like this time last year, we're like, oh yeah, they're going to do this. They're going to do this. Cody's gonna, and like, even then, like we wound up not knowing because The Rock showed up and it's like, what now? Like, do they just do Rock versus Roman? Do they like, what do they do? This is my hottest take. And I'll give you this one. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are going to fight at WrestleMania. And I think it starts off because on Friday he said, I will deal with Sami when the time. Like the best part about Kevin Owens's character is before that, he hadn't said a word about Sami Zayn. This is a guy, for those of you who don't speak wrestling, best friend. They grew up together. They, kind of beat each other up. Like they're together, they're apart, they're together, they're apart. And they go apart one more time. They're both good guys. Kevin Owens turns heel. Sami joins OG Bloodline. And the group that they were fighting, that's the reason they got together last time. So now it's kind of like Kevin Owens gave Randy Orton a pile driver, which is banned in WWE. He wants to cripple Cody Rhodes. And he hasn't even said anything about the one guy who probably stabbed him in the back the most, which is Sami Zayn. So I think Royal Rumble, I went there last year. I was in Tampa. Jelly Roll was sitting a couple of rows ahead of me. I'll always have that. One of the best parts of that Rumble was number one was Jey Uso and number two was Jimmy Uso. And that set up a WrestleMania match. Now the WrestleMania match sucked, but in that moment, that was awesome because the crowd went nuts. Like the energy was just there. I think this year they run it back. I think Sami Zayn is the number one entrant in the Royal Rumble. Number two is Kevin Owens. And they have that moment where they stare each other down like, WTF, man, why'd you join the Bloodline? And then they fight.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I think the Rumble itself, all of the mini stories that can go on in that match, and just one superstar has multiple mini stories going on with different people that I think we're going to have a lot of those moments that we then look back and go, oh, that's where they started it. But when we watch it, we're not going to know what they're actually starting, which is really fun, right?
Or when they're going to start it.
Yep.
Because I was watching something today. It was a clip of Drew McIntyre and CM Punk running into each other backstage. And Drew he's like, oh, yep, I got what I wanted. And Punk's like, what's his problem? Next thing you know, they're having a Hell in a Cell match. Drew McIntyre's bleeding all over the place. And it's one of the greatest matches in WWE history. So I don't know. I'm excited. I love WrestleMania season. I love it more than Christmas.
Christmas is the appetizer.
Christmas is great. Christmas going home and everything. But like once we're done with Christmas, it's like, oh, the Royal Rumble build. And then the Rumble goes in the chamber. And then you get WrestleMania. And
so good.
It is the best 3 months of wrestling that I can think of. And it's why I've been to 2 Royal Rumbles, because that's like the kickoff to everything. And it's such a great time. But Nick, thank you for coming on, talking wrestling, talking Vikings. This is the Viking Age podcast. I am Chris Schad. I'm at the real Chris Schad. You can follow me on X, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. I'm on Blue Sky as well. Check me out, whatever social media you're on. I'm probably on it as well. We do this every Monday with a late week episode right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. We're also in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. But however you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode and we can spread the word to the masses. For Nick Marty, I am Chris Schad. This has been the Viking Age podcast.